Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. We are going to get started. We're not going to be staring at my blank desktop, I promise. We are talking about databases for project managers. And if folks in the poll could just let me know if you can hear me or not, I would really appreciate that. Got a quick poll. You can hear me. Oh, good. Does it sound okay? Because I did one of these yesterday and people started yelling at me in the middle of the stream. We can't really hear you. And I was like, tell me. And just a quick poll to just kind of get us started. But John, thank you for letting me know you can hear me. Same to you, Christina. I very much appreciate that. And I need to go find that thing. Ooh, about half an EMEA. It's got to be what? Oh, not too late. About 5 p.m. for y'all, 6 p.m. Okay. I'm glad you're joining me. I don't imagine many folks in India, Asia, or Oceania. Did I say that right? All right, I'll get a 2-minute timer going for us here. And then we shall get started. I want to go to this and get my chat. All right. 7 p.m. in Bucharest. Romania's a little bit further east. I'm used to either GMT or CET. You must be one more east from there. All right, as we're waiting, folks, think up questions you've got about databases for PMs. And PM in this context means project manager, as opposed to any of the other acronyms, product, program, etc. But this is intended to be interactive. So I've got, some slides on Rails, some examples and demonstrations, but I wholly expect y'all will have more specifics for me. And that reminds me, I need to get my demo instance all ready. Here we go. Perfect. Oh, someone from India. It's very late for you. Thank you for joining us. All right, folks, about 30 people, about 20 seconds to go. Definitely hit that poll. Just let me know kind of where you're located. I'm in the Bay Area, California, so near San Francisco and Berkeley. It's very cold here, so I hope it's warmer wherever you are. And we are going to get started. This will make some annoying sounds. I'm going to turn that off. All right, a quick introduction. My name is Rob. I've worked in information technology my whole career. Recently left my job, my full-time job. I'm now a full-time content creator. I'll talk more about that as we go. But my background is in project management. I started off on the IT help desk. I was the person who would deliver your laptop, install your monitor, all that kind of stuff. But I quickly got pulled into project work, and I had a director who thought I would be more interested in it. Now, I knew nothing about project management. I learned it all by doing, and I knew nothing about the systems I worked on, like Confluence. So that's why I do these sessions. I help other people untangle how to use the tools that we have for our job. I hold a whole host of certifications, PMP, pmi-acp, Project Plus, basically everything Atlassian offers. I'm a subject matter expert with Atlassian, and just sharing that because I earned all of those to learn about the domain of project management and Atlassian. They also help, getting a job or bona fides and all that. But really, I chose to do all those to learn because I was expected to know how to manage a project and I didn't know how to do that. And that's why I do these sessions, to help people just like all of you figure out how they work. Now, we're using YouTube. If you're watching this recorded, you can also chat and use the comments. But during the session, please use that chat. It should be over there. I'll have polls pop up. There's one right now about generally where you are in the world, but use it to ask questions, use it to ask me to dig into things, and use it to support each other. This is a really important thing for me. I learned a lot about project management and Confluence from other people. I got really lucky with mentors and instructors and trainers and teammates who helped empower me and build me up. So please help each other. I have many different ways you can do that. You can do that in here. I've got a Discord community. So this is a free chat platform you can optionally join. I'll drop a link in here. You can go find me on LinkedIn. You can send me a message anytime. You can shoot me an email, but also talk to each other. This is how you're going to learn. Also, I mentioned I'm a professional streamer, so please like and subscribe. Just hit the buttons kind of down below me. Easiest way to support me. There are also other links on the screen, though. I'll talk about these as we go. The one over here is a sign up to get more information about my ongoing Atlassian stuff for project managers. This one focuses on databases. I did one a week or two ago around Confluence in general. I've got one coming up on whiteboards. There'll be some on JQL and Jira plans and other things in the Atlassian stack that we as project managers can use. Also, I've got a full-length Confluence course down here in the QR code over on my learning site. Feel free to check that out. So we're going to dig into databases. Now, in the context of this session, this refers to the content type in Confluence. This is not the data structure that Confluence uses to manage information. It's something that we as humans can interact with. So we'll talk about what they are, like the basics around them, and then we'll get hands-on. I will be using a Jira, I'm going to say that a lot, a Confluence Cloud Premium instance. Databases exist in all versions of Confluence Cloud, though, including the free one. If I use a feature that is only in Premium or not in free, I'll let you know. But you can follow along even if you're on the free tier. I'll do my best to get to all of these. However, depending on your questions and what you need, we might not get to everything. Sarah, welcome. Sarah, I got a spotlight real quick, is one of my channel members. It's another way you can support me. You get early access to videos and some other, fun things. So I'm going to add in a new poll. And this is just how familiar are you with Confluence databases? And again, anytime I say databases in here, I mean the content type in Confluence. And these polls will be 4 options. That's what YouTube lets me do. A 1 is not at all. A 4 is a lot. Now, in Confluence, this is a way to structure data. It will look like a table. You're going to tell me, Rob, that's a table. And I'm going to tell you, no, it's not. Because it looks like a table. It has columns and rows. However, it's got more features than a table, but it's not quite a Jira space or Jira project. Hey, Kaithra. Well, good to see you, another one of my members. Glad you're here. It gives us a way to structure and manage information beyond just putting it in a flat table. In this example we see here, we have different types of information. I've got text, I've got a label or a tag, and then I've got an assignee. And you'll see these are little icons. It's not just text on the screen. This is actually a lozenge, I think they're called, for particular individuals. As a project manager, when I use these, I think of it falling somewhere between like a CSV and a full-blown Jira project. And I'll share examples of this, but sometimes when I need to track work, I go, I don't need to put this in Jira. I need to put it somewhere else. Where do I put it? This answers that question for me. There's a lot more it does than just track tasks, though. So there's a bunch of advantages to this. We're going to zoom up just a little bit. And what we're going to talk about is just why do we use these? Now, it's included in Confluence. So this is one massive plus. You don't have to go out into Excel, into Google Sheets, somewhere else. It lives in Confluence along with all of your other content. This for me is huge as a project manager because I am constantly trying to get all of the information I have about something into the same exact spot. And this is important because it means when someone joins my team, I just send them to one place. I don't have to send them multiple areas. It also means I don't need to get extra licenses. And this was a massive problem for me because without tools like this, I'd have to go purchase some other thing. But also, crucially, it keeps us in Confluence. Now it gives us different types of fields as well. So we can pull in Jira work items. We can pull in information about those work items. We can pull in Confluence pages. We can even pull in, they call them smart links to other content. And we can crucially save views. So when I look at a table in Confluence, it's the same for everybody. And so this means my stakeholders see all the tasks they don't care about or all the information I don't want to share with them. With a database, though, I can save a view of it. It's like a snapshot just of certain columns or filters. This lets me tailor what I show people while still having one source of truth that I, as the PM, need to manage. This makes my life a lot easier. Alex is saying they love tables in Confluence. I'm curious, Alex, what you like about tables, if you can just share with the team. But I have a feeling you're going to love databases. And if folks are interested in becoming a member, I'll just drop more information here. Again, early access to video, some other fun stuff. A quick visual orientation, though, before we get hands-on. This is a blank database. For me, this is the worst kind of database. I typically don't just jump in and start making them. I need to think through what data do I want to put in them first. So you'll hear me talk about, like, how do we plan out the database? As project managers, we do a lot of planning, hopefully. So it's important when we start putting in a database that we take time to consider why are we building it and what data goes into it. Some of the examples I'll show you will be like task tracking. Other examples we can get into are things like tracking vendors. It is possible to link databases together. I won't get too deep into that, but there's a lot of interesting use cases that before I even open up the database to look at all this stuff, I consider. So in here, I mentioned views up in the top left. There's a default view that's just everything, but you can click this little plus and add more views. In this example, there's one that just says in progress. So here I was building a task tracker. I've got a status column. I just want to see the things that aren't done. Here they are. In the middle, there'll be the record, all the information. We can also add fields. So this can be another good tool if you're using Jira. You can add additional information here that you might not be able to add on your own. You can always add new records, and they're starting to add calculations. Keep in mind that databases are not spreadsheets. I cannot do functions within the database at this point. So if you're looking to I always think of Excel like a VLOOKUP or anything. I cannot do a function inside a database today. That said, it's cloud, so Atlassian is constantly building, expanding, improving, so someday it might get more stuff. I've mentioned this, but plan it out. And this should be like for anything I do in a system. I want to make time to ensure I know what I'm doing when I go into it. You can also duplicate databases. I do this a lot, and I do this for a task tracker. I have a lightweight project I'm running. Instead of making a brand new database, you can just copy the structure. So think of it like templating. I can't save a template the same way I can a Confluence page, but I could have one database I'm using, and then I can duplicate the structure so I can easily spin them up. And then tailor the views. Again, as a project manager, there's a lot I need to see, but if I'm working with Kythra, my senior stakeholder, I don't want to show her everything. Or if Alex is on my development team, maybe I just focus him on certain things that I want Alex to know about. And thank you for responding, Alex. Alex likes tables because they're customizable and view a lot of data and easy to incorporate other macros. So I'm going to pop over into Confluence real quick and just build one to get us hands-on, and then jump back into some slides. And so far, the vast majority of us are not familiar with databases. I'm glad you're here. No one said a 4, which is, I think, a first. Usually at least 1 or 2 people know a lot about the thing. So I'm glad we can decode it a bit. These exist in a Confluence space. A space is just a way to organize content in Confluence. But you can click the plus or click create and pull in a new one. Keep in mind that databases as a content type can be hidden from a space. So if you go into Confluence Cloud and you don't see this, you'll have to talk to a space admin. These are individuals with administrative access. They can come in here, and then there's a features menu where it's possible databases have been turned off. So if this is off, you just won't see them. But you can talk to your admin, they can add it. I forget if I added slides, but there are now templates for databases over to the right. Yeah, some of these also come pre-populated. So definitely jump in here and just see what the nice people at Atlassian have given us. I use these as inspiration. You can also use them as a starting point. Here's one for a content calendar, and there's even more than last time I looked, which is great. Anne says they use databases. It's a love-hate relationship. Sorry. Hoping to move it towards love. All right. And would you mind sharing what brings the hate to see if I can address some of that? One other thing to note, you can import existing data sources. Now we're limited to, you can see CSVs right now. So if I do this a lot, I'll build out a Google Sheet to track a project. You can come in here and upload the CSV. You can also import work items from Jira through your JQL, as well as content from Confluence. One use case I have for this is to rebuild a Confluence space. I've got a live session on that in February, I think. But one thing I'll do in a database is pull in the whole space's worth of content, and then I can see it more easily. But here I have my database. One thing that drives me absolutely bonkers, that defaults to untitled database. Please go update it. I have a lot of databases just called untitled, so I'll just call this jQuil example. jQuil is Jira query language. So the search language for Jira, I pronounce it jQuil. But here is a database. You can see there's a default view. Ooh, this is new. This is a feature that shows up in Cloud Standard, Premium, and Enterprise called Rovo. It's the AI tool. I haven't noticed it in here before. So just an example of additional features. We'll go play with this once we put some things in here. Again, just our orientation though, I'm going to close our sidebar just to get rid of it. I can click on this icon or hit the bracket key on my keyboard. But I've got my columns, and this would be similar to fields on a work item or information. And then I've got rows, the records of things I want to maintain. I'm going to put another poll real quick. And I'm basically just asking, what should we track in our database? And we'll come back to this example. And I'm just making up some examples, but if you've got an idea of what you want me to build, please tell me. Otherwise, I'll make up an example. Amelia, I love it when Atlassian just rolls stuff out. They do have weekly update notes. It's like 12 miles long because it covers all the updates. I should probably read them. I don't. I tend to trip over new features. So it's good and bad. It's frustrating because you'll see this new stuff and you're like, why didn't I know about that? And it's good because there's new stuff. So that's one advantage of cloud, I guess. You just get the updates. Helps if I spell calendar properly. So just some options for what we can build together, or if you have something else, drop it in chat. And of course, I have an example I'll make up. But this is a database. I can move the columns, just click and drag them. When I click on the fields, and we'll dig more into what these are, you'll notice a bunch of options appear. Depending on the type of field, I get different options. For example, this is a user picker. It lets me input users, so I get different options than a tag, which lets me insert selectable items, think like a status. And I get different options when I go to text. There are also different types of fields. We'll dig more into these and what most of these do. I have an advanced version of this training where I dig more into these things at the bottom, the other databases. But here I can see a number of different field types I can add. I can, under more actions, open it up, and I have that template and import again if I need it. I can always bring this template screen back. If you do this, it's going to overwrite what's in there. So if I drop in a template, and then I want to drop in another one, it's going to delete everything I've put in. I'm just going to pick, well, I guess, research repository, just to show us what these can look like. But this is one way to, again, track information. We can see custom field names or column names, and we can call them whatever we want. So in this case, it's a researcher. It might not be the assignee, but it's someone I need to track. I have a status and a method. So this is the basic orientation to it. Amelia lets him summarize this for them. I'm going to pop back to our slides and keep talking about context, though. Oh, wow. So far, most people want a content calendar. Okay. I'm going to skip that scenario because I asked for a different one. But we've got some basic fields. Now, I don't know why they call these basic, because there are different types of fields. But this is a list of them all. We'll talk briefly about them, but they all kind of do what they say. A text field is just something you type in. You can add in files or numbers, etc. The number fields are important because you can do some calculations on them that we'll see. Typically, I find myself using text a lot. date a lot, tag, and user quite a bit. And again, that's my general use case is tracking work. So I need to type in like what's the name of the task, what's the status, who's responsible. These can be added and removed. You can always update them later. You can't change the type though. So if I put in a numbers field, I don't think I can convert it into text. So once it's in, it's in. But once it's in, you can still configure it. So you can change defaults or other settings. Tags are very useful. They are, again, I use them for status or to categorize something. Think of it like a tag on a box so you know what's inside it. They also give some visual pop to the database because there'll be a different color. For example, you might have a status tag and red is blocked, green is done, similar to what we see in Jira. But you don't have to do that. You can use the tag to indicate anything you want about that piece of information. I have a dead tie between a small project and a content calendar. Could a couple more people vote? Just so I get something that y'all want. But I use these quite a bit. Tags also help us with our different views. I'll show you some examples, but you can use the tag field to make a Kanban or Scrum board within the database. So we can use it for things beyond just making content, and tags help drive that. The system will use tags to categorize the records. Well, one more person voted, but you voted for Team Tracker, so we're still stuck in a two-way tie. Thank you for voting. I appreciate that. What I'm going to do, can I delete all this stuff? I can't. So I need to make a brand new database because I made a whoopsie. Luckily, they're free. Here I've got my database. Ooh, I've got a content calendar. Perfect. I'm going to call this JQuil Content Calendar. Thank you for voting, the 17th person. So I give it a name, and I want to think, I know what I'm using it for, right? I've got project management training I want to deliver. I'm picking that as an example because that's what we're talking about. I need to think through what type of information do I need to track. I need the name of the training. So I'm going to change the field name to name of training. I want to leave it text, and I'm going to add a description. This is important both for people using it, but also for future Rob. When I look at this in 3 months and go, what does name of training mean? I have a little description. Anywhere you see a description field, always put something useful in it. Training you'll be doing. And it can be anything. This will show up when someone puts their mouse over the column header. So you'll see if I just stick my mouse over it, I can now see what that says. I need name of training. Maybe I need another text field. So I'll click my plus. I'll just select text. And I want to move this one next to name of training. And I'm going to call this something like high-level overview. High-level overview. I want to add a description. And this will be, 3 bullet points on what the training is for. Also the Jira guy, another one of my members. Thank you, my friend. Rodney is the Jira guy. I'm glad you're here. Yes, I have another session this afternoon as well. Amelia, what is called self-care? What did I miss? And then I'll keep building these out. I have a status field I need. And you'll notice my options are different. I'll leave this as tag, but I'll add some items. Maybe I'll have an idea. And then I'll have drafted. And then I'll have, deck done. And then I'll have scheduled. And then I'll have delivered. You'll notice these are in an order. This does not necessarily imply it moves from one to the other. This is not like a status in Jira. It's not going to prevent someone from going from idea to scheduled. All it's going to do is give me this dropdown. But now I can default something. I might say, hey, when a new idea is created, make it an idea. Just default it to that. And then I'll give it a description because we always give things descriptions. Where the training is in the workflow. Smiley face. Oh, Amelia, yes. Adding descriptions for future you is self-care. It's something I also am very, very bad at, and something we can all do better at. And maybe I have a guest star or a episode guest or something. I'm just adding this as an example of a user picker, but this allows me to optionally notify someone, and I can optionally include multiple people. So now I have a very loose structure I can start building out. I forgot one very important thing. That's a date. I need to know when this training should be done. Training date. I'll add a description when the training is. Whoa, training. There we go. So now I have something I can start using. I'm going to just add some items. I'll just make them up. I'll say whiteboards for PM, a bullet point, how to use whiteboards. I'm going to add kind of junk data just to give us something. Whiteboards, status. This one was delivered a week or two ago. Why does it say episode? Episode guest. There we go. I didn't have a guest. And I'll say, nope, go away. I'll come back to you. Let's say that was last week. And I've got another one like Jira plans. How plans support PMs. And I'll say this one is drafted. I've got a special guest. My good friend admin will join us. Just once, not twice. And this will be sometime in February. Perfect. I've got one on JQL or JQuil for PMs. And Rodney, fact check me here. That's the right way to spell that, right? That's a bit of a joke. I made up the word JQuil. I'm trying to make it a thing. If you all can help me by always calling JQL JQuil, that would be stellar. And I'll see how long it takes me to get yelled at for that. All right. So now I have some things in here. This is great. This gives me tracking. This is, again, in between, in my mind, a table and something else. It's in between a table because it's got text just like a table. However, I also have this status. I have these guests and I have dates. Because these are stored as different types of information, there's different things I get to do with them. Again, storing it as a user picker will notify that person. It lets me @mention. And it looks like I've already won. Kythro is calling it JQuil. Love it. That's a different one, Rodney. But there's other things I can do. Things like filtering, very straightforward. Sorting, things I can do in tables. But I can tinker with a layout. I can do a gallery, which I honestly don't use all that much, but I've got a board. Now what do you mean I'm missing a tag field? Am I missing a tag field? This is a tag field. Maybe it's mad because this one doesn't have a tag. I'm going to get rid of that empty row. Am I blind? There we go. This is another great thing about being live. I'll see if I can fiddle and figure out why this isn't. Sure. Status number 2. I'm just going to quickly, there we go. So I could also use this like a board to show visually where things are. This is another common use case that I have. Amelia's been using JQuil for a while. Thank you. All right, back to a couple of concepts and a quick coffee break for me. Also, definitely hit that QR code to my right. You can sign up to get more updates on the project management arc. I don't have a better name for it, but Atlassian product for project managers. I'll drop that link in the chat in just a minute. And then also I've got a full-length course just on Confluence. It's not explicitly for product managers or project managers, but it's got a lot of great content you might enjoy. To sign up here. How does it handle someone who isn't in Confluence? I'll pop back in here real quick. If they're not in Confluence, you can't mention them. Anywhere in Confluence or Jira you see the term user picker, it relies on someone having an account in your instance. For example, Alex, I want to make sure I got the name right. I wouldn't be able to @mention you in here because you don't have an account. You just don't exist. I also can't put in, I want this one, like, it won't let me do that. So this is where the advantage of being in Confluence is it's in Confluence, and the disadvantage of it being in Confluence is you have to be in Confluence for it to work, if that makes sense. So keep that in mind as well. That could be a limitation. All the groups I happen to work with have their whole team in Confluence, so it's never been a hurdle. Folks who've just been in there. Can you mention JSM, Jira Service Management customers? I don't believe so. To view the database, you typically need a license. Now we can share them, and I don't think I don't have public access turned on. I'll see if I can follow up and figure out about public access for databases. But typically when we think about Jira Service Management, if you're using it for your support desk, Confluence will surface documents, so pages. I haven't seen it surface databases or whiteboards. So please keep that in mind, although I'll take it as a follow-up if I can figure that out. And I'll see if I can post an update in my Discord, which is the last link I just shared. But more of a project management-y question. How do you handle stakeholder analysis? Now, in project management, this is hopefully something we're doing. We're sitting down and considering who will be impacted by our project. And we're going to shift our scenario a bit. We're going to go into how do we use a database to track stakeholders. So when I think of a project, I have people who will need to be informed. I've got like my RACI, responsible, accountable, consult, inform. How do I make sure they have all their information? But also, how do I consider how someone like Kythra could impact the project? Maybe Kythra is very antagonistic, does not like my ideas. Or maybe Kythra has other things they want to talk about. How do I keep track of that information? There's a couple of other fun tools we have in databases that can expand and help us do that. For example, we can link databases. So I might have one database that lists projects and a separate database that lists stakeholder information. And this could be very, very useful because I don't want to have to type in Kythra's email in every single database. I just want to link Kythra and then have that pull in an email. Same thing. Maybe I have Alex as a stakeholder. I want to pull them in. I can do that by connecting databases. If you're familiar with relational databases, this will help. If you're familiar with the join clause in SQL, this will sound familiar. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, I will show you. But basically, I can have one database that is my content calendar and a separate database that contains my guest star information. So here's a quick visual. In this example, I've got a project tracker on the bottom, and I've got team member information on the top. Now, I did this, and I thought through what do I need. I have team members, and each team member could be on 0, 1, or many projects with me, right? They might just be someone I've worked with in the past. Maybe Alex I've worked with in the past, but I'm not working with right now. Maybe Rodney is working on just one project, and maybe Amelia is working on 4 projects with me. I don't want to have to type in Amelia's information 4 times. I don't want to have to go into a project and delete Rodney and Adam. So instead, I've got one that tracks my project and a separate database that tracks my team members. What I can do in the database is link them. This column will let me select anyone in this database. And then I can pull in information like a phone number or an email or a stakeholder sentiment or, I'm running out of ideas, any other piece of information. So they call this linking, but you're referencing information somewhere else. This is something where you can get really creative and do some pretty interesting stuff. You could build a customer relationship management system in here. I've done very lightweight examples, but we're going to go in and we're going to do this. We're going to build a linked database. We're going to take our content creation example, and I'm going to build out a separate database that will include guest star information. Now, this is different than the user picker. And this is not exactly what you want, Alex, in terms of notifying someone outside of the system, but it's how I can track information for people not in Confluence or people in Confluence. I'll come back to restrictions in a bit because I want to dig into this concept and share it. It took me a while to kind of understand. But right now I've got my content management, my content calendar right here. Maybe under that, I'm going to build another database. So in Confluence, I can nest information. What I'm seeing here is I've got my content calendar database, and a child of it, I'm just going to call my guest star information. Start star information. And you'll see I have a blank, wrong way, I'm sorry. you'll see I have a blank database now. So here I'll have to go in and add information. Maybe I need this person's name. Maybe I have scheduled question mark. No, that's a bad one. Gift box sent. Maybe they get a gift box the first time they work with me. I'm making up examples. Maybe I need an email in here. I'll change this one to text and I'll say email. Great. I'll just start making up people. Alex, you're going to be in here. I'll say no. And you'll notice with this tag, I can make it on the fly. Maybe I have Kythra. And maybe I have Rodney. And I'm just going to make up examples. I'll have Alex add example. Wow, I can't type example. There we go. This one will be Kythra. And this one will be Alex. I mean Rodney, of course. Okay. Maybe Kythra got their gift box. And maybe Rodney did not. So very quickly just showing, I now have this guest star information database. I'm going to go back to my content calendar. And I need to edit this. So I'm going to go back to my table view. I hang out in the table view the most. I find it the easiest to use and see everything. What I'm going to do, though, is add a new field. And all the way at the bottom, it says Other Databases. I'm going to go Entry Link. Now, I'll have to give it a name. I'll call this Guest Star. This could be any name, though. Or I can call it whatever I want. And then you'll see I have a list of databases. So I'll go find the database I want to connect. In this case, Guest Star Information. And I want to allow multiple entry links because it's possible I have multiple guest stars. I'm going to add a description. Although it's a different Alex, Rodney. And then because of that, I can get rid of this episode guest. So I'm just going to straight up bloop. Now, one thing I cannot do is archive a field. You'll notice there's no like archiving list here. And I see that Ask Rover that I really want to click on. I'm going to wait a little bit though. I'm going to move guest star over to status. And I'm going to just click in here. And what you'll see is a list of those people. Now, if I open this back up, that's not the one I wanted. So I can now pick people. Maybe Alex for this one. And maybe, come here, Alex and Kythra for this one. And maybe Rodney for this one. So now I can track from this discrete list of people. This is not everyone in Confluence. This is only the list of people who happen to show up in guest star information. So this is an easy way to track my stakeholders. But I can take it a step further. In this database, I can also pull in their email. So I can scroll down here, and what I'm looking for is entry details. I'm going to drag it right next to guest star, just so they're next to each other. And I'll call this guest star email. And then I'll have to pick a link. This will be blank if I don't already have the database here. But I'm going to pick guest star. And then I'll pick the value I want. So this is just a list of the columns in my other database, name, gift box, email. And I'll go back there real quick. Name, gift box, email. I really need to save it back to table. So what I'll do with guest star email is just change this to email. And what you'll see is their emails show up right away. This is great because now all I have to do, let's say Kythra agrees to come on with Rodney. I can just add Kythra and they show up right here. Easy. Another nifty thing I can do with this, I can go back to guest star information. I can click plus, and I've got an entry backlink. This will go look at one database, maybe my content calendar, and I can say number of appearances. And instead of a smart link, I want to make it a number. Now I can instantly see how many times these people have been guest stars. I can see Alex has been in here twice, Rodney only once. So right away, like a bit more complexity, right? I've got two separate tables. However, I can now easily track how often these people have been there. I can now easily share their information in the JQuil content calendar. And what we're going to do in a minute is duplicate this, and maybe I have another content calendar. I can also include their information in that one. And then I could get more granular. I could say how many appearances just for JQuil, how many appearances just for something else. Amelia, these are not smart links. This is the backlink. And I'm being very clear with that term because a smart link is something else. I can add a field with the backlink and just display it as a smart link. And this will show me which specific things they are in. So I might say like specific JQuil episodes. And then I can see right here exactly where they are. Now this linking is nice because if I mouse over this, it'll show me some information about it. I can even open the preview and it'll put it in a modal on top of the screen, just that record. So this is good. Like I'll share this with stakeholders sometime or something like this. And I can say, you know, just a heads up, Alex, you know, come here, look for yourself and just click on what you're doing and you'll see information about it. Depending on my need and my use, this is smart. Inglorious. My challenge with this feature is finding good examples of how to use it. So I'm glad we picked content creation because I had guest star like just popped into my head. But again, this could be any kind of stakeholder. This could be a team member. Maybe instead of content, this is tasks in a project. And then I have my team information. Maybe I use this to track my incident response team. Hey, the server crashed. Alex, you're the owner. I have their phone number, bang, just right there. I maintain it in one spot, the team member database, and then it's pushed out everywhere it needs to go. So this is the connecting databases. Again, it's relating information, and it's something I cannot do in a table, short of copy and paste, and I can't easily do even in a Jira ticket. Like there's very complex, convoluted ways to make that happen, but this feature makes that easy. Now, some limitations here, you'll notice that the data comes from a specific database. So in this example, I can't tell you the total number of appearances across 5 different databases because this field links to a single database at a time. I'm going to pop back to slides and we'll come back to this, and I think I have a way to solve for that. Now, anytime we talk about content in Confluence, we need to consider like restrictions. Restrictions in Confluence refer to visibility or edit access to a single piece of content. We can restrict databases. We can say, only I get to see this. So imagine in that content creation example, I had some, you know, I wanted my list of guest stars to be safe and hidden. I could say only Rob sees it. Or maybe I want my whole team to see it, but only Alex and Inglorious gets to edit it. Like however I want to handle that, I have these options. This is also one of the most frustrating things about Confluence. Something will be restricted and you won't realize it. Keep in mind, Confluence also respects permissions and restrictions. So if I cannot see a database and I try and open it with the related links, I won't see data there. So this will hide that connected information other places. All right, I'm going to stop talking for just a second. This is a selfish request. I need to know how I can be better. I can guess on the things you all want to learn, but I'm really reliant on all of you to tell me. So I'm going to drop a quick link in the chat. This will go to a Google form. It can be completely anonymous. Let me know how I can make these sessions better for you. One thing I did from this is do this PM series. People said I want more about project management. So I have this loose series that will just be ongoing. You can sign up for that on the bottom. Another thing I did for my study certifications is add quizzes and labs and homework. So as you come study certifications with me, you get a free companion course. So please tell me what you want. I will keep making stuff up, but it's best if you tell me, here's the example. I want to learn content calendar creation in databases. Great, we can do that. I'll make it up though, but specifics, please tell me. Sarah's saying it will not let you add screenshots if you don't have the attachment permission. So while you're considering your feedback, we also need to remember that within Confluence, there are other permissions. Permissions refer to what you can do in a space. You can create content. You can add a restriction. Restrictions refer to view and edit access to one piece of content. Sarah is reminding us that it is possible to be able to view content, but not add permissions, or not add attachments, excuse me. So if you run into trouble with that, you'll need to talk to an admin, typically someone on your IT team. Tell them exactly what you're trying to do. Rob showed me about this amazing database. I can't put an attachment. Why not? And they'll be able to help you. Oh, we're not done, DL. Sorry, that's just in a middle. That's a reminder for me to stop talking for a minute because I tend just to go and let us all consider what questions we've got. All right. and it looks like most of us don't do stakeholder analysis, I will highly encourage you to investigate and expand and explore more about it. Databases for... a quick poll while I'm thinking about it. Let me know if you want more on databases for project managers. I'll just put that right there. Okay, back to our example. Now, I've mentioned at the start, we have the ability to duplicate the structure of a database. Now, this is important because I have multiple content calendars. I've got one for JQuil. I have another one for, I don't know, Confluence. I could make a new database and to side by side and add this column and do this thing, but instead, I'm just going to go up to my more actions and hit duplicate. Now, before I do that, I'm going to clean this one up a bit because I don't like how it's working. I'm going to, I'll click on this soon. That's very interesting. I'm going to change my board layout and I'm going to click Save Changes. And you'll notice now that the view is updated. I wasn't doing this before, and that's why it kept taking me back to the board view. So I'm going to rename this view. I'm going to click Edit, and you'll notice I get all of these options. The most obvious thing to do is change the name. I'll just say All Content. I'll hit Save. Maybe I want a different view, though, and I'll call this one Unscheduled Sessions. And I'll add a filter. So in the same way I can filter a sheet or a CSV, I can change this. And I'll say, okay, the filter or the tag called status is any one of these. Ideas drafted in deck done are not yet scheduled. And I'll save these changes. Did that work? Oh, I think I shot myself in the foot. Boop. Does that do it? Maybe I'll just give this a specific one drafted to make this work for right now. There we go. Now we can have as many views as we need. And the neat thing about them, they're saved as a URL. So if I give this URL to someone in an email, in a Slack message, whatever, in a smart link, and they open it up, it will take them to that exact view of the dashboard. This is a trick I use with my stakeholders all the time. There's a default home view. There's only ever one, but I give my different team members different views because some people on my team do not care about everything. They get overwhelmed. They only want to see things that have not been scheduled. They focus just on scheduling. Maybe I have one's missing guest stars, and I have someone who schedules guest stars, and I give them a link just to that. Alex, thank you for that. I appreciate it. Oh, sorry, the feedback form goes to a Google form, not the Discord, just to clarify. I can then arrange these. I can click and drag them in any order. I can add more. I can come back and edit them. But there's a lot we can do in views. We can hide fields. So if I don't need my scheduler to know who the guest star is, or maybe they don't need to know the high-level overview, I can tailor the view to the stakeholder. So please keep that in mind. A lot of folks get nervous about adding a lot of columns here, but you can, again, remove the things you don't want everyone to see. So now that this is cleaned enough, I'm going to go up to duplicate, and I'm going to duplicate the structure. I can copy the whole database. That includes the records, and this is a relatively new update. But if I duplicate the structure, I might call this one Confluence Content Calendar. I'll leave it in the same space, and I'll just click duplicate. And now I get another database. And I'm zoomed in on the wrong spot. Of course I am. There we go. I've got my Confluence Content Calendar and then my JQuil one. From here, I can go add more records just like I did before. So I'll just click add entry. I'll call this one Confluence 4 p.m. I'm just making up stuff to throw in things. You'll notice I have the same list of guest stars. And this is what I wanted to show folks. Because I've connected the databases, this is pulling in from the same list of guest stars as the other one. Kyther's email will be the same. So I only have to go into one place to update the databases. Alex, this was a massive time saver. Before I knew how to do this, I would copy the database and then delete all the records. Terrible. More frequently, I would make a new database and manually rebuild it. Annoying. But you can just grab the structure. Now, the other neat thing, I won't fill out this example the whole way. If I go back to guest star information you'll notice number of appearances still says 2 for Kythra. So I need to change this. I'll say like jQuil appearances. And I'll save that. And I'll say specific jQuil episodes. Now I'll add a new one. And I can link this one to my new content calendar. So I'll call this Confluence appearances. And then I'll go add an entry backlink to that one. Oop, did I not set this up properly? Nope, I did. All right. So just as an example of how I can take one table, one database, and tie it into multiple places. Alex has a good point. Databases are not available in Data Center at this point. There might be some add-ons that help you get there, but this is a cloud feature in all flavors of cloud. So this is how we make multiple databases. You don't have to have the same exact structure to use this insert link in the same way that I've done it here. I could have a whole separate table just called team members database, a whole separate database just called team members that pulls in from guest star and grabs that information. So I'm not limited to just this one structure. It can go in any database I have. While I'm thinking about it, why are you not working for me? Oh, I don't want an entry link. That's why. I want an entry backlink, and I want a number. All right. So here I can see Kythra's been to 2 of these and 1 of these. There's a calculate option. Yeah, this is not at all. Nuts. I'll just do some. What I was hoping is I could get a count of just Kythras. It does not look like I can. Can I do math in here? I don't think so. Nope. All right. So this is one of those limitations. I can't do functions in the cells. I was checking to see if there had been an update I didn't know about. There is not. I can sum up columns or do some basic math in columns, but I don't have anywhere near the flexibility I have in, say, any kind of spreadsheet. All right. Risk management is another way. Maybe I'll save this for the second session. But what questions do y'all have on databases so far? So far, almost everyone wants me to do another session, so I will. Totally optional. Some of you don't want that. That is okay. Amelia, calculations are the big thing you're missing. Yes. I have no way of summing Kythra's 2 appearances and 1 appearance. It just can't happen. I'm trying to think of any easy workarounds, and I can't. I wonder if... Not what I wanted to do. What I wanted to do. If I add one of these and I link to... I'm trying to think if there's any way I can filter just Kythras. Uh-oh, I broke it. Here we go. I can filter from here, and what I could try is filtering by name and just say Kythra. Kythra. Helps if I spell your name right, my friend. But even then, because these are separate fields, it won't add them up. So unfortunately, I have no way to combine these right now. All right, folks. So those are some use cases for databases. You can see I've got a lot more. I do want to talk about next steps, though. I will get another session going, probably in Feb or March, on databases for project managers, because there are so many use cases and so many different ways it can be used. But in terms of next steps, please get hands-on. Go take some time. You can get a free copy of Confluence, and I'll quickly just show you that link. So if you don't have direct access to databases, you can go get your own free instance. Wow, that's a very ugly URL. But if you come here, and I'll drop this link in chat, and click on Start Free Trial, that will let you sign up. Now, if you see this, if this is populated, click on Start a New Workspace. The danger here is if your team currently uses Confluence Cloud and you just click Continue, It's going to add to your company's Confluence cloud. We don't want to do that. What we want is start a new workspace. It'll give you some crazy name. I always get Heen Team, which I just am amused by. But you can call it whatever you want as long as it's unique. Actually, I wonder, atlassian.atlassian.net. Nope, it's taken. But this, if you click continue, this will follow along and get you a free instance you can go play in. So that's a great way to go practice this, especially for my friends who are in data center right now. One last poll just to see how things were for folks. But definitely go get hands-on and experience these. Like with any tool, the more we practice with it, the more comfortable we get, and the more use cases we'll figure out. Please reach out to me, though. I'll drop more links in the chat. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm over on Not What I Wanted to Do. I don't believe we can convert them to tables. Again, a database is an entirely separate content type, so it's not at all like a page or a live doc. It's just going to live as the database. I'll see if I can find any interesting workarounds. But please go find me on LinkedIn, find me in Discord, find me in the Atlassian community, and keep pushing what we can do with these. They're a great tool. My challenge is just figuring out how to use them. And so that example of building a content calendar was really helpful for me. So thank you for everyone who voted for it. Be on the lookout for more live sessions. I do have a calendar that I'll share out. All the yellow stuff are my live sessions, and I am starting to build a calendar explicitly for project managers. So I'll put this in the chat as well. This public Google Calendar will be every live session I've got going. That big ugly link right there. And I've got just a general live sessions. So this is all the live sessions I'm doing. I do them both for myself, but also with Atlassian in terms of like getting started with. So if you're curious about Rovo or Jira Cloud, those are in there as well, but those are all free. As a quick reminder, please like and subscribe. I do this professionally, so your support is incredibly helpful. Another way you can support me, check out my live courses, bottom left. There's one entirely on Confluence. I'll put that link in there as well in case you're curious. But I want to make sure you get value from this, so let me know how I can keep doing better and giving you better content. I do want to thank you. You just spent an hour with me talking about content types in Confluence, about databases. So thank you for trusting me with your time. I really appreciate it, and I hope to see you all here again soon. And with that, I'm going to say goodbye and go on to my next meeting, which I have a lot of today somehow. But thank you again for all learning with me. Really appreciate it. Glad to see you all here, and hope to see you somewhere again soon.